I never thought I'd find myself in a situation like this. I'm Jake, a regular guy in my mid-30s, married to Lisa for 6 years. We met in college and I was head over heels for her charm and wit. We built our life together in a cozy house in a good neighborhood, and for the most part, things went smoothly. But as it turned out, appearances can be very deceiving. In the months leading up to the discovery, I noticed small changes in Lisa's behavior. She became more distant, often glued to her phone, and started going out with friends more often. I chalked it up to her wanting a little independence. She was a social butterfly, and I figured she just needed time away from our routine. But deep down, I felt a nagging sense of unease. When I confronted her about it, she'd brush it off with a flippant remark. "You worry too much, babe." She'd then give me a quick peck on the cheek and disappear into her phone again. The more I tried to engage her, the more she seemed to retreat. It was like I was living with a stranger, and it was unsettling. One Saturday while she was out, I decided to clean up the house and stumbled upon a pair of men's sunglasses under the couch. They weren't mine, and I couldn't recall anyone visiting. My heart raced as I picked them up. I tried to convince myself it was nothing, but my gut told me otherwise. I decided to investigate a bit more. I started checking her social media, which I usually never did. She had a private account, but I wasn't entirely clueless about technology. I managed to sneak a peek at her friends' profiles and found pictures of her at a bar with some bouncer named Tom. She looked happy, laughing and flirting. My stomach churned as I saw the way she leaned into him. The caption read, "Living our best life." I felt sick. I tried to push the thoughts away, but they consumed me. I spent the entire night tossing and turning, replaying the images in my mind. Was this the independence she had been talking about? The next day was a whirlwind of emotions. I confronted her and demanded to know who Tom was. Lisa laughed it off. "Just a friend from the bar, Jake. You're being paranoid. You have nothing to worry about." But the way she said it felt wrong. There was a hint of defensiveness in her voice, and I caught her glancing at her phone. I pressed her harder, and that's when her demeanor changed. "I don't have to explain myself to you," she snapped back, her voice rising. "You're being ridiculous. We had this massive blowout. I felt betrayed and infuriated. How could she turn this around on me? It was all surreal." I went from feeling like a loving husband to an intruder in my own home. I was angry, but I also felt a deep sadness settling in. This wasn't the Lisa I knew. It was like I was talking to a different person altogether. As days went by, I couldn't shake the feeling that something was terribly wrong. I found myself sinking deeper into despair. The emotional roller coaster was exhausting. The love I had for her still lingered, but the trust, that was gone. There was a heart-wrenching dullness that enveloped my days, a constant reminder of what was lost. I began thinking about what I should do next. Part of me wanted to fight for her, to remind her of all we built together. But another part of me felt like I needed to take control of my life, to stop being the victim in this situation. I had to make a decision, and I needed to find a way to reclaim my happiness. That's when I started crafting a plan, one that would not only put me back in control but also push her to confront the reality of her choices. I realized I could become the VIP in my own life, even if it meant letting go of Lisa. I dusted off the old gym membership and made a commitment to transform myself, not just physically but mentally. I needed to rediscover who I was outside of our marriage. This wasn't just about revenge. It was about reclaiming my self-worth and standing up for what I deserved. I was ready to become the best version of myself, whether Lisa was by my side or not. If this was going to end, I was determined to make it a grand exit. I could already see the light at the end of the tunnel, and it was time to step into it. The first step was hitting the gym. I joined a local fitness center and committed myself to a grueling workout routine. The initial weeks were brutal. I felt sore in places I didn't know existed. Still, I pushed through. I could hardly believe the transformation happening. I was shedding weight, gaining muscle, and for the first time in a long while, I felt a spark of confidence returning. I also began to change my wardrobe. I tossed aside the oversized tees and baggy jeans I had worn around the house, opting for fitted clothes that showcased my new physique. I wanted to look good not just for Lisa, but for myself. I started wearing tailored shirts and nice shoes. It was liberating to stand in front of the mirror and see someone I respected and admired. While I was busy revitalizing my body, I also focused on my mental health. I started therapy, something I had always thought was unnecessary but now felt essential. Sitting across from a therapist named Sarah, I opened up about the heartbreak, the anger, and the confusion I was experiencing. It was cathartic to verbalize my feelings. She listened, asked questions, and helped me navigate. Through my emotions, I slowly began to see things more clearly. One day, I walked into the gym and bumped into an old college friend, Mark. We had lost touch, but as we caught up, I learned he was thriving in his career and had a great social life. He invited me out for drinks that weekend, and I figured why not. A part of my healing process was reestablishing connections with friends, and Mark was a good guy. That night, I joined him and his friends at a trendy bar downtown. The atmosphere was electric, with laughter and music filling the air. As the drinks flowed, I felt a sense of liberation wash over me. I was meeting new people, joking around, and for the first time in a long while, I wasn't thinking about Lisa's infidelity. I was present, enjoying my life. As the night progressed, I noticed the attention from several women at the bar. It felt strange but exhilarating. I hadn't thought about dating or getting into another relationship after what happened. But as we chatted and laughed, I realized I was finally feeling like myself again. I exchanged numbers with a woman named Mia who was funny and smart. The connection was instant. After the night out, I returned home with a sense of accomplishment I hadn't felt in years. Lisa was sitting on the couch, scrolling through her phone as usual. She glanced up when I walked in, her expression unreadable. I could tell she was surprised to see the change in me. I had always been the nice guy, but now I was becoming someone who appreciated his own worth. Over the next few weeks, I maintained my routine at the gym and kept seeing Mia. We went out for coffee, shared meals, and talked about everything under the sun. I felt alive again. It was invigorating to spend time with someone who was genuinely interested in me without the baggage of past heartache. Lisa, on the other hand, was starting to notice the shift in me. She tried to engage me in small talk, but I kept my responses short and polite. I wasn't in the mood to feign interest. I could see the confusion on her face whenever I walked past her, sporting a fitted shirt and a confident posture. It was almost comical. She had taken my loyalty for granted, and now that I was reclaiming my life, she didn't know how to react. Then one evening, as I was getting ready for another night out with Mia, Lisa confronted me. "You seem different lately, Jake. Is there something going on?" she asked, her voice edged with a mix of curiosity and concern. I turned to her, a bit surprised by her sudden interest. "I'm just taking care of myself, Lisa. It's about time I focused on my own happiness." Her eyes narrowed, and I could sense her annoyance. "What does that mean exactly? You're not going to just leave me, are you?" "Leave you?" I repeated, incredulous. "You're the one who's been leaving me for someone else." The tension crackled in the air as she shifted uncomfortably. "That's not fair, Jake. You don't know the whole story. I was just what?" I cut her off. "Just having fun with a bouncer, just avoiding all our problems. I'm done being the one who always tries to fix things." She faltered, searching for words. "I didn't mean to hurt you like this. I thought you'd understand." "Understand what, Lisa? Understand that you cheated on me and then expected life to go on as usual." My voice was steady, but inside I was a whirlwind of emotions. I felt angry, betrayed, and yet strangely liberated. I caught her off guard, and I could see the realization wash over her. For the first time, she was faced with the consequences of her actions. It was empowering to stand my ground, to not let her manipulation pull me back into a place of hurt. As I walked out the door, ready to meet Mia, I couldn't help but feel a sense of satisfaction. I had taken a stand for myself, and it was a feeling I wasn't going to give up anytime soon. My journey was just beginning, and I was more determined than ever to become the best version of myself. I felt like a phoenix rising from the ashes, and I wouldn't let anyone dim that glow. As the days turned into weeks, the transformation in my life and mindset became more pronounced. I was fully committed to myself, and it showed. My workouts were now part of a daily ritual, my diet improved, and I was feeling energized and confident in ways I hadn't experienced in years. With Mia, I found someone who brought joy and laughter back into my life. We hit it off, sharing our thoughts and dreams over coffee and dinner dates. It felt refreshing to have genuine conversations without the weight of betrayal hanging over us. Lisa, on the other hand, seemed to be spiraling. She would occasionally attempt to engage me in conversation, but it felt forced. I noticed her looking at me differently, as if she were trying to figure out how to get back into my good graces. But there was something about her desperation that turned me off. I had spent years trying to please her, and now it was my time to be unapologetically me. One evening, after a great date with Mia, I came home feeling on top of the world. I had just secured a promotion at work, and my future felt bright. As I entered the house, I saw Lisa sitting at the kitchen table, her face buried in her hands. Instinctively, I felt a pang of concern, but I shook it off. She had made her choices, and I wasn't obligated to comfort her anymore. "Hey," Lisa said, looking up as I walked in. "Can we talk?" I hesitated for a moment, then nodded. "Sure, what's on your mind?" "I've been reflecting on everything that's happened," she began, her voice shaky. "I know things got out of hand and I didn't handle it well. I thought we were in a rut and I was trying to find excitement again." "Excitement?" I echoed incredulously. "You thought cheating on your husband was the answer. You thought it would fix everything." She looked down, tears welling in her eyes. "I know it sounds stupid. I never meant to hurt you, Jake. I just got caught up in the moment and I didn't think about the consequences. But now I'm scared. I miss you and I want to fix things." I took a deep breath, processing her words. Was this genuine remorse, or was it just the fear of losing me that drove her to this confession? I had the urge to tell her everything I had done since our confrontation, how I had grown and changed, but I held back. "I've been working on myself, Lisa," I said carefully. "I'm not the same person I was a few months ago. I've realized I deserve more than just an apology. I deserve respect and honesty." "Can we start over?" she asked, her voice barely above a whisper. "I'll do whatever it takes to prove to you that I've changed." I shook my head. "You don't get to ask for a fresh start just because you're afraid of being alone. You made your choice and it was a choice against me." "I'll end things with Tom," she pleaded, desperation creeping into her tone. "You'll see. I'll show you how much I care. I don't want you to end things because you think you should. I want you to end things because you truly understand the damage you've done. The trust is broken, Lisa. I can't just pretend everything is fine and go back to how things were." She sighed, her shoulders slumping, and for a moment I felt a flicker of sympathy. But then I reminded myself of the hurt. I had spent too long accommodating her feelings, and I wasn't willing to fall into that trap again. "Maybe it's time we both figure out what we really want," I suggested. "I need space to think about my own path forward. You need to figure out what you want, too." "Are you saying you want a divorce?" she asked, panic in her voice. "I'm saying I need time to consider all my options, but if I do decide to end this, it won't be out of anger or rashness. It will be because I've come to terms with what's best for my life." With that, I left the kitchen and went to my room, feeling a mix of relief and sadness. I had taken a stand, but it also meant I had to face the reality of my marriage unraveling. I spent the night tossing and turning, unsure of what the future held. Despite the turmoil in my heart, I woke up the next day determined to focus on my own happiness. I met up with Mia again and shared my feelings about the conversation with Lisa. She listened intently, her empathy reassuring. "I think you're doing the right thing, Jake," Mia said. "You deserve someone who values you and respects your feelings. It sounds like you're finally putting yourself first, and that's incredibly important." Her support meant the world to me. I realized that I was no longer defined by my marriage or Lisa's choices. I was reclaiming my identity, discovering what I wanted in life, and it felt empowering. As I worked through my feelings, I found myself leaning more into my social life. I spent time with friends and started to appreciate the freedom I had regained. I was no longer the shadow of a man trying to make things right with a cheating wife. I was Jake, a man rediscovering himself. But in the back of my mind, I knew I would have to confront Lisa again soon. I could sense that her desperation would only increase as she realized her grip on me was slipping. I needed to be prepared for whatever she might throw at me next. I was ready to stand my ground, to make a choice, and to pave my own path forward, no matter what it took. As the days went by, the tension in the house escalated. Lisa was visibly distressed by my newfound confidence and independence. It was as if every interaction was a reminder of what she had lost. I could see her trying to manipulate the situation, dropping hints about how she was changing, attempting to get close to me again. But I was no longer playing the game by her rules. One Saturday, I returned from another successful workout session, feeling energetic and accomplished. I was met with an unusual silence. Lisa was sitting on the couch, her eyes fixed on the television but clearly distracted. I could tell she had been thinking deeply about our conversations, and the uncertainty hung in the air. "Jake, can we talk?" she finally asked, biting her lip nervously. "Sure," I replied, bracing myself for whatever was coming. "I've been doing a lot of thinking," she began, her voice trembling slightly. "I know I messed up by cheating. I can't take that back, but I want to show you I've changed. I want to go to counseling together if you're willing." I blinked at her, surprised by the suggestion. "Counseling? You think that's going to magically fix everything?" "I know it won't fix everything overnight, but I want to work on us," she insisted, her intensity rising. "I miss you, Jake. I miss us. I'm willing to do whatever it takes." I crossed my arms, trying to process her words. "You want to fix things because you're scared of being alone, or do you genuinely want to change?" She closed her eyes for a moment, and when she opened them, there was vulnerability there. "I realize I took you for granted. I thought I could have both my fun and my marriage, but now I see how selfish I was. I'm willing to end things with Tom and put in the work." I took a deep breath. "I appreciate you saying that, but I'm not ready to jump back in. You've hurt me, Lisa. This isn't just about your desire to fix things, it's about rebuilding trust, and that takes time." "Time," she echoed, looking defeated. "I understand, I don't want to lose you." "Then you need to show me you understand the gravity of what you did. Going to therapy is a good step, but it can't be just about you wanting me back. You need to look deeply at yourself and what led you here." Tears welled in her eyes again, and part of me felt a pang of sympathy, but I had to remind myself that sympathy couldn't restore what had been broken. "I'm going to focus on myself right now," I continued. "This is a journey for both of us, but mine is separate from you." She nodded, accepting my words, albeit begrudgingly. As I walked away, I felt a mix of relief and frustration. I didn't want to be the bad guy in this situation, but I also knew that I had to protect my own heart. The next week, I had another date with Mia. We met for dinner at a cozy little restaurant downtown, and it felt good to let loose and have fun. We shared stories, laughed, and enjoyed each other's company without the shadows of betrayal lingering. It was a welcome distraction, and I found myself opening up about my journey of self-discovery. "I'm really proud of you for taking control of your life, Jake," Mia said, leaning in with genuine admiration. "It's not easy to break free from a toxic situation." Feeling emboldened, I replied, "It's been tough, but I'm finally beginning to see the light. I've realized I'm more than just someone's husband. I'm me, and I deserve to be happy." Mia smiled, and her eyes sparkled. "You do deserve that, and it's refreshing to see you embrace who you are. Just remember to take things one step at a time." As our dinner wound down, I felt a pang of guilt for Lisa, but I quickly dismissed it. I couldn't let myself fall back into old habits. I was on a new path now, and I had to stay focused. Back home, the atmosphere with Lisa felt tense and charged. She was trying to engage me, asking about my day, but I was distant. I was no longer in a place where I felt comfortable sharing every detail. I was determined to draw boundaries and not let her back in too easily. "So, you're still going out a lot, huh?" she remarked one evening as I got ready to meet Mia again. There was an edge of jealousy in her voice that I hadn't heard before. "Yeah, I'm making new connections, Lisa." "It's part of my journey," I said, not bothering to hide the satisfaction in my tone. "Connections, you mean with her?" she shot back, her irritation flaring. "Are you really ready to move on like that?" I turned to face her, my resolve hardening. "It's not about you or Tom anymore. This is about me, and I refuse to feel guilty for wanting to be happy." Her expression shifted, a mix of anger and realization. "You think this is just about fun for me? You think I want to lose you? I'm not going to sit here and watch you throw everything away." Everything, I countered, incredulous. What about everything you threw away when you chose to betray my trust? You can't expect me to just forgive and forget. This is my life, and I'm not going to let you dictate how I should feel about it. The argument escalated quickly, and I felt my emotions boiling over. It was a release I hadn't known I needed to stand firm in my truth. I had spent too long trying to accommodate her feelings, and now it was time to establish my own boundaries. I can't do this anymore, Lisa, I declared. I can't keep pretending that everything's fine when it's not. I need to focus on myself, and if you can't respect that, then maybe it's time for us to reevaluate our situation. Her eyes widened, realizing the ramifications of my words. I wasn't just saying I needed distance. I was suggesting that maybe our marriage was over. The silence that followed hung heavily in the air, and for once I felt empowered to speak my truth. As I left the room, I felt a weight lift from my shoulders. I had taken a stand, and while I knew the road ahead would be tough, I was ready to face whatever came next. I was on a path to reclaim my life, and I wouldn't let anything hold me back from that journey. After the confrontation with Lisa, the tension in the house reached a breaking point. The air felt thick with unresolved emotions, and every interaction felt strained. I focused on my own happiness and continued to build my life outside of our marriage. I was determined to keep moving forward, but I also realized I needed to confront the reality of what was happening. One evening, Lisa caught me off guard. I had come home from the gym, feeling great. After a solid workout and a productive day at work, I was in a good place, but when she approached me, I could sense her apprehension. She was sitting at the dining table and there were papers scattered across it. "Jake, can we talk about our finances?" she asked, her voice steady but tinged with uncertainty. I raised an eyebrow, taken aback by the sudden shift in conversation. "Finances? I thought we were focusing on other things right now." "I know, but we need to address the practical side of our lives," she insisted. "If we're going to figure out what's next, we have to talk about it." I sighed, sitting down across from her. "Fine, what do you want to discuss?" "We have a joint account and we need to decide if we're going to keep it or separate it," she explained. "I don't want to create more tension than we already have, but I think it's important to sort this out." "Right, sorting it out," I replied, feeling the weight of our situation. "You mean like you sorted out your affair? I'm not sure I want to share anything with you right now, including finances." Her expression hardened for a moment, but the vulnerability returned quickly. "I get that you're angry and you have every right to be, but I'm trying to be responsible here. We can't just ignore the practical stuff because it's uncomfortable." I ran a hand through my hair, feeling the pressure build. "I understand that, but we also can't pretend everything's fine. We need to address what's really happening here. You say you want to change, but I'm not seeing much evidence of that." She looked down at her hands for a moment, and when she looked back up, her expression had softened. "I don't expect you to trust me right away. I know I've hurt you, but I'm trying to be mature about this situation. I want to figure out how to move forward, whether it's together or apart." The sincerity in her tone caught me off guard. It was a side of Lisa I hadn't seen in weeks. I wanted to believe her, but doubt crept in. "What does moving forward look like for you? Because I don't want to be stuck in limbo." She took a deep breath, her resolve solidifying. "I think we should consider separation, not a divorce, but a trial separation. It would give us both a chance to think about what we want and see if we can actually work on ourselves without the pressure of being together." I was shocked by her suggestion, and I had to process it. A trial separation. It was a term I hadn't even considered. "You think that's going to fix things?" "I don't know," she admitted, her voice trembling. "But I think it could help us figure out if we can rebuild our relationship or if we truly need to go our separate ways. I don't want to keep dragging this out if we're just going to hurt each other more." I studied her face, searching for signs of manipulation or deceit, but all I saw was a sense of desperation mixed with sincerity. "So you want us to live apart for a while?" "Yes," she replied, nodding firmly. "I think it would be good for both of us. It would give me space to reflect on my actions and what I really want. And for you, I know you need space to heal." I wasn't sure what to think, Part of me wanted to cling to the hope that we could salvage things, but I was also aware of the distance that had grown between us. What would that look like practically? I can find a short-term lease somewhere, she suggested. We can split the bills for a while and check in with each other periodically. No pressure to get back together right away, just time to see if we can rediscover ourselves and what we want. The thought was both terrifying and liberating. Okay, I said slowly. I think that could work, but it has to be clear that we're not getting back together until we've both done some serious reflection. I'm not rushing into anything just because you're scared. Agreed, she said, relief washing over her features. I think this is a good step for both of us. We spent the next few days sorting through finances and logistics. Lisa began her search for a place to stay, and I focused on my continued transformation. The idea of separation felt daunting, but it also provided a sense of freedom I hadn't experienced in a long time. Once she moved out, there was an awkwardness that hung in the air. It felt surreal to come home to an empty house. At first, I experienced a rush of emotions, sadness mixed with relief, but I quickly filled my time with activities. I kept hitting the gym, pursuing new interests, and spending time with friends. I was determined to keep moving forward and not dwell on the past. I stayed in touch with Lisa, and as we checked in, I could sense a shift in our conversations. There was a newfound respect emerging. She seemed genuinely committed to her own growth, and I found myself cautiously optimistic about what this separation could mean for both of us. As time went on, I realized that I was no longer the man who had been blindsided by betrayal. I was gaining clarity and strength, and I was learning to prioritize my own happiness. However, there were moments that shook me. I would see Lisa's social media posts celebrating her new independence, and while part of me felt a twinge of jealousy, I reminded myself that I was on my own path, and I had no reason to feel insecure. Then one weekend, I decided to throw a small get-together with friends at my place. It was a chance to celebrate my new chapter and invite the people who had supported me through this journey. I felt excited to share my progress and bask in the positivity. The evening was lively, friends laughing, music playing, and good food filling the air. As I mingled, I realized how comfortable I had become in my own skin. I wasn't just surviving, I was thriving. Then, amidst the laughter and joy, my phone buzzed, an unexpected message from Lisa. It simply read, "I miss you." My heart raced. I didn't know how to respond. Would this throw me back into emotional turmoil, or was it a sign of genuine growth on her part? I took a moment to collect my thoughts before replying. "I miss you too, but let's keep focusing on ourselves for now. Let's see where this takes us." I hit send, and as I immersed myself back into the party, I felt a strange sense of peace wash over me. Whatever happened next, I was ready for it. I had transformed, and I was learning to embrace life on my own terms. The future was uncertain, but I was finally reclaiming my narrative, one step at a time. As the weeks of separation continued, I found myself growing in ways I never anticipated. Lisa and I remained in touch, cautiously navigating our new dynamic. Each conversation felt like a delicate dance, where we were both trying to balance the past with the possibilities of the future. There were small moments of connection, but I remained resolute in my decision to focus on myself first. I had thrown myself into self-improvement, hitting the gym regularly, diving into new hobbies, and even exploring new places around town that I never had the time to experience before. I felt alive, free from the shadows of doubt and betrayal. I was becoming the person I always wanted to be, rather than the man defined by his marriage. One Friday evening, I planned a weekend getaway with some friends to a cabin in the mountains. It was a chance to recharge and celebrate how far I had come. We laughed around the campfire, shared stories, and enjoyed the freedom of living in the moment. I felt a sense of camaraderie that was deeply fulfilling. It was during one of those quiet moments, staring up at the starlit sky, that I received another text from Lisa. "Are you free to talk? I think I need to share something important." I hesitated for a moment, unsure of how to feel. I had been enjoying my newfound freedom and didn't want to slip back into old patterns. But curiosity got the better of me, and I replied, "Sure. What's up?" We arranged to have a video call the next day. As I sat on the porch of the cabin, surrounded by the warmth of my friends, I prepared myself for whatever Lisa had to say. When the call connected, I was greeted by her tired but hopeful face. "Hey," she said softly. "Thanks for agreeing to talk." "Of course. What's on your mind?" "I've been doing a lot of soul searching," she began, glancing away for a moment as if gathering her thoughts. "I realized that I need to take complete responsibility for what happened between us. I've been working on myself and I've started therapy. I'm learning how to communicate better and understand my own issues." I nodded, intrigued but cautious. "That's good to hear, Lisa. I'm glad you're taking steps for yourself." "I've also realized how much I took for granted," she continued. "I don't expect you to forgive me right away, but I want you to know that I've been thinking about our past and the future I want. And I want to work toward rebuilding that trust if you're open to it." Her words struck a chord, but I remained guarded. "Rebuilding trust takes time, Lisa. I'm not sure where I stand yet." "I get that," she said earnestly. "I'm not asking for a quick fix or a guarantee. I just need you to know that I'm committed to changing and making things right. I miss you, and I hope we can find a way back to each other." Hearing her say that felt surreal. I had spent so much time processing my feelings, and now the possibility of reconnecting with Lisa was suddenly on the table. But there was still a part of me that hesitated. "You know I'm still focused on myself, right? I don't want to rush back into anything just because we're having this conversation." "Of course," she replied, her eyes sincere. "I respect that. My plan is to continue focusing on myself as well. I just wanted to share where I'm at and let you know that I see a future for us, but I'm willing to let it unfold in its own time." After we wrapped up the call, I felt a mix of emotions flooding through me. Lisa's words were hopeful, but it was going to take a significant amount of time and effort to rebuild what had been broken. I realized that I had to take my time to determine whether I was ready to let her back into my life fully. The weekend passed in a contemplative haze. I enjoyed my time with friends but couldn't help but reflect on the conversation with Lisa. I couldn't deny that I still cared for her, but I also reveled in the freedom of living my life without the constant weight of betrayal hanging over me. Returning home, I continued to immerse myself in my routines. I kept seeing Mia, and while things were light and fun, I knew I needed to figure out how I genuinely felt about my marriage before making any commitments to someone new. As weeks turned into months, Lisa and I began having more open conversations. We started discussing our feelings more honestly, allowing ourselves to explore the possibility of reconciliation while also maintaining our individual growth. I saw glimpses of the woman I fell in love with, and it ignited a small flame of hope in my heart. Eventually, I found myself at a crossroads. The journey of self-discovery had brought me clarity, and I knew I had to make a choice. Should I give our relationship another chance, or was it time to close that chapter for good? One evening, we met at a cafe, and as we sat across from each other, I took a moment to gather my thoughts. "Lisa, I think I've reached a decision," I began, feeling the weight of what I was about to say. "I've seen you make significant changes, and it's clear you're committed to growth. But I also know that trust doesn't come back overnight." "I understand," she replied, her hands clasped tightly. "I don't expect anything from you. I just want you to know that I'm here for you, no matter what you decide. I care for you, and there's a part of me that wants to believe in us again," I continued, watching her expression shift. "But I think we need to take it slow. Let's not rush into anything. We can try dating again without any expectations, just to see how it goes." Her eyes widened and a smile broke through. "Really? You're willing to give us a chance?" "On my terms," I emphasized. "I want to rediscover this together without the pressure of trying to fix everything at once." "Thank you, Jake. I promise to put in the work." As I left the cafe, I felt a newfound sense of hope. The road ahead wouldn't be easy, but I was willing to explore it. I realized that while I had taken significant steps to heal and grow, the power of love and forgiveness could pave the way for a brighter future. In the end, I learned that life is unpredictable. Betrayal can lead to heartbreak, but it can also spark a journey of self-discovery. I emerged from the darkness stronger and more resilient, ready to embrace whatever came next, whether that was a renewed relationship with Lisa, or a continued journey of self-love. Either way, I was finally becoming the VIP in my own life, and that was a victory worth celebrating.